Good morning. It's Sunday, March 1st, 2026. Here's what's making headlines today. First, the United States and Israel launched the largest joint military operation in the Middle East since the 2003 invasion of Iraq. The operation, codenamed Epic Fury by the US and Roaring Lion by Israel, struck military installations, government compounds, and key Iranian leadership targets across the country on Friday. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was confirmed killed in an Israeli airstrike on his Tehran compound. His daughter, son-in-law, and grandson were also killed. Iran's defense minister, the commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and the secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council were all reported killed as well. President Trump stated that operations are, quote, ahead of schedule. The strikes followed months of anti-regime protests inside Iran that began in December 2025 and killed thousands. This is the most significant U.S. military engagement in the region in over 2 decades. Second, Iran launched a massive retaliatory strike, firing missiles at Israel, U.S. military bases, and facilities across at least 7 countries in the Persian Gulf region. The United Arab Emirates intercepted 152 of 165 incoming ballistic missiles, but damage was not fully contained. Dubai International Airport sustained damage and suspended all operations. 1 person was killed at Abu Dhabi's Zayed International Airport. Iran also targeted British military bases in Cyprus, expanding the conflict beyond the Middle East. The U.S. Navy 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain and Ali Al Salem Air Base in Kuwait were both hit. The scale of targeting across Bahrain, Jordan, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and the UAE marks a significant escalation beyond a bilateral Israel-Iran conflict. Next, the human cost of the conflict is becoming clearer. U.S. Central Command confirmed Saturday morning that 3 American service members were killed in action and 5 were seriously wounded as part of Operation Epic Fury. These are the first U.S. combat fatalities in the Iran conflict. Several others sustained minor shrapnel injuries and concussions. On the Iranian side, the Red Crescent Society reported at least 201 killed and over 700 injured across Iran from the strikes. In Israel, at least 9 people were killed from Iranian counterstrikes. These are preliminary figures. The actual toll is expected to rise as more information becomes available. Moving on to what may become one of the most contested incidents of the conflict. An airstrike hit the Shajari Tayyibeh Elementary Girls' School in Minab, in Iran's Hormuzgan province, killing dozens of students between the ages of 7 and 12. Casualty figures vary significantly across sources. Iran's UN ambassador stated that more than 100 children were killed. Other reports range from 53 to 148 dead, with nearly 100 wounded. The school sits approximately 200 feet from an Iranian military base, though satellite imagery reviewed by multiple outlets shows the 2 sites have been clearly separated since at least 2016. Iran attributes the strike to U.S.-Israeli forces. The incident has drawn sharp international condemnation and will likely become a focal point in the diplomatic and legal battles surrounding the conflict. Next, the economic impact. Iran has signaled it may close the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway that carries roughly 25% of the world's seaborne oil trade, about 20 million barrels per day. A semi-official Iranian media outlet described the strait as effectively shut. Ships in the area have reported radio broadcasts from the Iranian Navy banning transit. It's important to note that Iran has not made an official declaration of closure, but the signals are ominous. Brent crude settled at $72.48 on Friday, already up 19% year-to-date. Analysts are projecting significant price jumps when futures open at 6 p.m. Eastern tonight. Goldman Sachs projects Brent could reach $110 per barrel. JP Morgan sees $120 to $130 if disruptions persist. Gas prices in the U.S. are expected to follow. If the Strait of Hormuz remains disrupted for more than a few weeks, the downstream effects on global energy supply, inflation, and economic growth could be severe. Moving on, global financial markets are bracing for what analysts expect to be an extremely volatile Monday. The strikes began over the weekend, so Monday's session will be the first opportunity for equity and commodity markets to react. S&P 500 futures are expected to open sharply lower. The index closed Friday at 5,954. Gold and other safe haven assets are surging. Wall Street firms are advising haven-first strategies, shifting toward treasuries, gold, and defensive positions. Oil futures, as mentioned, could open $5 to $7 per barrel higher tonight, potentially $10 or more by Monday morning. Indian markets are also expected to gap down given India's heavy dependence on Middle Eastern oil. Analysts warn that if the Strait of Hormuz disruption becomes prolonged, the combined impact of surging energy prices and market uncertainty could tip the global economy into recession. Next, the diplomatic response. The UN Security Council held an emergency session, requested by China and Russia under the heading Threats to International Peace and Security. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres urged the international community to pull the region, quote, back from the brink. A heated exchange erupted between US and Iranian representatives during the session. Separately, EU foreign ministers held an extraordinary meeting on Saturday. French President Emmanuel Macron described the strikes as an, quote, outbreak of war, unusually strong language from a NATO ally. The EU's Red Sea fleet has been placed on full alert. The diplomatic landscape is fractured. The US-Israel coalition faces growing international pressure, while Iran has framed the strikes as unprovoked aggression. How the Security Council and European allies respond in the coming days will be critical. Finally, the conflict has triggered the largest disruption to global air transport since the COVID pandemic. At least 8 nations, including Iran, Israel, Iraq, Jordan, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and the UAE, have closed their airspace. FlightAware reports more than 19,000 flights delayed globally and over 2,600 cancelled. Dubai International Airport, the world's busiest for international passengers, has suspended all operations after sustaining missile damage. Emirates has cancelled 38% of its flights. Etihad has cut 30%. Qatar Airways has suspended all departures from Doha. Lufthansa has suspended flights to Tel Aviv, Beirut, Amman, Erbil, and Tehran through at least March 7. The ripple effects extend far beyond the Middle East. Connecting flights through Gulf hubs serve routes to Asia, Africa, and Europe. If you have travel plans routing through any of these regions, check with your airline. That's the news for today. See you tomorrow.